Is PCAR Market just a big scam? I personally just got ripped off on Craigslist. Was it worse than this Audi Quattro listed on PCAR Market? Plus, I'll tell you all about how I got taken for a ride, and we'll talk about the results of this Audi. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Hagerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds.
One of my favorite cars, it is a 1985 Audi UR Quattro on PCAR Market. Our car is located in Lebanon, New Jersey, showing just 71,000 original miles. And what makes this car even more interesting, because so many of these models were imported as gray market, this car is actually one of the 73 U.S. production cars. So this is a legit car, a car that you could even register in California. The car is looks stunning in Alpine white. This was, I think, the first production car really to get the, basically Audi's homologated platform of a coupe with box fender flares, the Quattro all-wheel drive system, and a 5-cylinder inline turbo. Our car makes about 160 horsepower, which is quite a bit up from the 115 that graced the 4000 Quattro sedans and the Audi Coupe GTs that looked like this but lacked the boxed fender flares. This car really was sort of the U.S. version of the homologation special. JP, one of my very first cars was a 4000S Quattro with cloth seats, heated seats, and the Quattro and the whole shebang. And I liked the car, but it didn't turn and it didn't go fast. This was the car, like, you drive the Audi, but like this was the car's, hotter sister. And it's like, oh man, I wish I could get one of these, but these were always 4 times, 5 times as much money. This car looks particularly stunning. It's interesting that these cars, like other sort of Group B homologation specials, hasn't really gone crazy in value. Although despite being on PCAR Market, I think this car is going to do really, really well. 15 by 8-inch Renault wheels. When you think about the 15-inch wheels that you might have found on a production car in period, most would have been 7-inch wide. The 8-inch wide tells you that this car was sort of up for the performance. It also has leather interior and a host of sort of tech that was, in 85 was a little bit ahead of its time. Audi really did do some groundbreaking with this car, even if it wasn't a commercial success. The Quattro sort of technology really helped Audi survive the rough times that were ahead in its future. So JP, I love this car. I know you would never want to own one of these, but I would. I would be dumb enough to buy this car and enjoy it and cry myself to sleep when something broke and it cost a fortune to fix and you couldn't find parts for it. But they only ever made 664 in the United States, and in 85 it's one of 73. So it's a really rare car by the numbers. I dig it. I think it's really cool. And I bet you could, figure out a way to get a little more boost out of that thing and make it something that would be even more fun to drive. So JP, I lob it back over to you. I know you don't rate vintage Audis as cars to own. Fun to look at, maybe fun to drive, but not to own. Even though I know I would lose my shorts going into it, I would probably plunk down the money for this car if I had room for it in the garage. What do you think?
Why are you putting words in my mouth? I love this car. I don't like old 90s Audis, but this particular Audi is the Audi of Audis.
Right on. I agree.
I love this thing. I love the R9 wheels. I was a big Scirocco kid back in the day, and I remember looking for. We were talking about wheels on the 911 before the break. I think I had probably 10 Scirocco's over the years, and at least 3 or 4 of them had Audi R9 wheels on them. The Renault wheels, just to make it look kind of like this car. It really kind of classed up the the Scirocco. Is it the same designer, right? What's the guy's name?
I'm not sure, Gagario, and I don't know if he did this car. Yeah, I'm not sure if he did this. He did all the Volkswagen stuff, but I don't know if he did the Audi one.
I mean, it really does look a lot like a Scirocco. And I remember it, back then thinking, oh yeah, that's what it must be. Like all the other, all the American manufacturers that make one car, but they make a Camaro, a Firebird, a TA, all that stuff. I just thought that this was the Audi version of the Scirocco until I learned a little bit more and saw that the engine was in line. Remember they did make a 2-wheel drive version of this as well. It wasn't, all-wheel drive. And that one, I actually had one of those. And frankly, the powertrain is basically all kind of, S1 Volkswagen-y kind of stuff. S1, S2, A1, A2 Volkswagen
but it's not
stuff.
transverse. You notice it's not transverse.
I know. That's why I said it's an inline. It's an inline
yeah.
engine as opposed to the horizontal. And that's when I realized, oh wait, I don't know what I'm talking about. When I thought it was the same as a Scirocco. So yeah, love these cars. They drive great. They are really cool. Audi has always had kind of cool interior stuff. They've always been kind of ahead of their time, even if some of it broke and was junky. The design was always kind of cool.
And smelled weird.
Yeah, Rami, what do you think of these?
Oh, I love this car. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's unique and rare. I mean, it won the British Touring Car Rally. It raced against Lancia and beat it a couple of times. Like really kicked its butt. It's an amazing car, and that's why they made these cars. It was because of the rally. So they had to make a certain amount to enter in. And that's why
they had to change the rules.
That's why it was
homologation.
Homologation.
The hell at everybody.
This is like the RS of Audi back in the day.
Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah.
I love these cars. Box flares, square bodies. It's my guilty pleasure.
Totally.
I own a 944 Turbo because I'm not brave enough to own one of these. And the funny thing about owning a 944 Turbo is you expect it to break down because it's from this era of turbos and box flares and not thought through. But this is a great car, and in this colorway, I mean, this is kind of a grail Audi. If you're going to have one, this is it. So
I mean so Kevin brought it up. It's a 5-cylinder. It's not the 4-cylinder, but it is. Right. It's essentially a Volkswagen engine with an extra cylinder. So the parts were fairly easy to come. I don't actually think of these as terribly unreliable. They don't have a turbo. The electronics.
They do. It is turbo.
This is the this one is a turbo. The regular one isn't a turbo. My bad. Right. You're right. But
correct.
Okay.
The GT.
Yeah. The turbos of this era are going to be kind of scary. But what's his name? Andy's like going, hey, I would trade my Corrado SLC for this thing. Would you guys do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All
my
right.
God.
That's not a question.
Yeah. So what do we think this thing's going to bring?
All right, JP. So on paper, this should be about a $70,000 car. On PCAR Market, I think we're going to be really cutting it close to get quite to that value. But here's the thing, JP. These cars are particularly rare by the numbers. A lot of them in period were bought by people that could afford to go out and drive them and beat them up. And there are not many left at all, and fewer still in this original low mileage condition. So many of these cars that we see come across the auction block with well over 150,000 miles and a lot of unusual parts, exhaust and brakes and wheels and suspension and all sorts of things. To see one this stock with under 100,000 miles in Alpine white, a BMW color, I think this is really cool. I actually think that although this car may sell here in the next 2 days, that the consignor made a mistake by not bringing this car to bring a trailer, where I think this car could have brought $85,000 or more because it's just so unusual. But John, our car closes in 2 days. It's at $14,000 on 8 bids. I don't think any of that matters. I think this car is going to show well. I just don't know what the consignor has in mind. So I'm going to give you $69,000, which is a crazy number, but the book value on this would support that. And I do think PCAR Market just has enough of an audience to maybe get that number. But it could hit my number at $69,000 and still wind up in the deal tank or the chum bucket for, considerably more than that, another 30 or 40% premium, depending on how outlandish a number the consignor has in mind. But anyway, I think $69,000 is what it's going to take, because they're just, we've been doing the show for 4 years. We've not seen one this nice. I think this is going to set a high watermark, but I think he's going to leave it short of what it could have been on BAT. So where are you at, JP, at $69,000?
Well, I was messing with the curtain and some technical stuff while you guys were talking early on. I don't know if you mentioned, are you taking into account that this is a salvage title? That this car was a salvage back in the year 2000?
No, I did not see that.
Yeah, that noise, right? Look, it was a long time ago. It was in the year 2000, and I've said it before with titles. Boy, what caused this? This is just so god dang PCAR Market. It's like, gosh dang it, PCAR Market. Look, we admit that we don't do a ton of research. When we pick a car, we throw it on the spreadsheet and we go make a show. We don't really dig through. Wow, and while Deeb is kind of like going through, kind of listing all the stuff, I get the added benefit of being able to dig a little deeper, because he's actually trying to talk about the car. And the Nerd Herd even mentioned it. They're like, hey guys, this is a salvage car. That changes everything. And it really is sad. And this is the kind of thing that, look, Deeb, you should have been able to see that this was a salvage car by just looking at this ad in 30 seconds, right? But PCAR Market buried it. They buried it. Yeah. This should be in the first freaking paragraph. It should be on the top. This is a salvage title car. I don't think that salvage title cars are the kiss of death, but when you hide it, it makes you look like you're hiding things. They are not transparent, and this is why PCAR Market has such an ishy, gosh dang bad reputation, because this is the kind of crap they pull time and time and time again. PCAR Market, I've said it 1,000 times, they are used car salesman jerks, and I really wish they would just go out of business and go away. My God. I really, really think this is underhanded and low. Guy, I mean, come on. How many people... What would happen if you went and bought a car and found out after the fact? This is the last that you had to dig through 200 photos to find out that this thing was a salvage. It was the last thing you're looking at. By the time you get to this last photo, you're like, how many more pictures of the brake pads can I see? You're not even going to look at this last page. And they don't even list the Carfax on their site. There's no link directly to the Carfax. They just put photos of the Carfax, unlike Bring a Trailer and Cars and Bids. Bring a Trailer and Cars and Bids puts the Carfax. There's a link. You can look at it, and then it's the most current information. We don't even know how old this Carfax is, or if it's doctored. It's a PDF of somebody else's. I mean,
it's a photocopy,
right? Is it even real? I mean, I wouldn't trust these guys as far as I could throw a paper airplane made of a Carfax that they printed on a copy machine at 7-Eleven.
It sounds like it's run by boomers.
Yeah, right. A bunch of boomers from your favorite place, Rami, the Long Island.
Long Island, you doing? Don't worry about the title.
All right. So all that said, I still think the car is valuable. And that's the other thing about the salvage thing. The salvage isn't that big, or could, in the year 2000, this car wasn't worth much. So if it got into a small accident, if it had a fender bender that was maybe a $5,000 repair, that would total the car, because the car was probably worth $10,000, right? But now it would take $50,000 to total this thing.
What does the Carfax
say? JP, it gets even worse, right? So I'm reading the comments, and the way PCAR Market describes it is that it had a salvage title, or actually Carfax says it had a salvage title in Connecticut, but then they transferred the title to Vermont, and in Vermont they gave it a clean title. And so the guy who's selling it is like, hey, I don't know why it's got a salvage title. It was clean when my friend bought it 30 years ago. And I'm like, well, the salvage title happened in 2000. And so the next comment is, hey man, stop calling it a clean title when it's clearly not. PCAR Market should change the listing, which they of course never did. So this is JP
justification.
We all kind of cringe when you go hard on PCAR Market, and then we read 5 minutes and everything is backed up by your comment, which is this is completely underhanded, and it's just these are the messes they create by not being transparent and explaining what's going on to their audience up front. And so, JP, you are vindicated and liberated once again. And man, it absolutely changes your bid. Where I thought this car could set a new high water mark, it should for the condition and the miles, but based on its title history and the fact that the platform nor the person who's selling the car can explain why this happened, I think this car is going to struggle to make 50. So I'm going to change my bid from 69 to 49, which is probably still high, but somebody may just look at the condition and swoop in and take it and go, there's so few of these out here. I don't care if I overreach for this one because there might not be a comp as nice as this one, despite its unfortunate title history. We don't know what's going on, but even if they bent the frame, you can straighten the frame. It's just a machine. It can be fixed. Right, Anthony?
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact is we don't know what happened, and that's the problem. Right. By the way, Anthony, I'm going to give you a chance to give your bid, but I'll give you a little later. Look, I think it's it's a beautiful car. I still think it's a great, neat car, has potential, but is anybody going to spend more than $30,000 for it? My number's $29,999, and I'll pass it off to you, Anthony.
Okay, I've always wanted to say this. I like PCAR for what it is. It's kind of like that sleazy, back alley. I kind of feel dirty when I'm hunting cars on there because I don't want my friends to know I might buy a car from PCAR because I know what I'm buying from there. And I think most people who are on PCAR kind of understand this is a place to get your bargain. You want to overpay for something, go to Bring a Trailer. That's fine. Unfortunately, once you've totaled and gotten a salvage title on a car like this, the handling characteristics, all the things that you dream about when you buy a car like this, you can't guarantee that's what you're getting. I mean, and you can't compare it to your friend's car because you're not going to see another one. I think it does a little better than JP thinks, but I think it stops at 34, and I think that's where it's at.
Rami, where you at?
I would never buy a car with a salvage title. I'm not Savage, Ladish. So,
well, how much is this one going to go for?
I was going to bid around where you were, so I was going to say 32. Yeah,
32.
32. And Anthony, give me your bid again, please. Sorry.
34,000.
Hey, Budo, you got a number?
Yeah, and I didn't actually get to comment on this earlier. And I want to say, I didn't think it was that nice deep. JP, can you go to the picture of the interior of the glove box? And half the glove box is falling down.
Horrible radio.
I think it was photographed well. The paint was well. This is a car that anyone who's like us, who's got nice Porsches, has nice other things. A UR Quattro is what they flip and want, but not this one. I think actually that mileage is pretty high for this, and again, you'll see that glove box. So I don't think I'll say $27,000.
Wow.
Hey,
all right,
Buddha. That glove box is probably from someone's knee going through it during the accident.
There it was. JP just said it.
I don't know. It looks all right. I actually think the interior of this thing looks okay. I mean, it's got no cracks on the dash. I don't know, whatever. We just don't know what the accident was. We just and the question mark is what makes this thing such a big problem.
The mystery.
And we know that PCAR Market is going to lift no fingers to provide clarity in that regard. So that's the problem. What do you guys think this salvage title super rare rally car will bring? Let us know in the comments below. Hey guys, I got to tell you about our friends Gaudin Porsche of Las Vegas and Gaudin Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you got to call our friend Steve at Gaudin. This guy.
1989 linen gray metallic G50 cab.
Is that going to be for sale?
It is going to be for sale. The car only has 65,000 miles.
Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Gaudin Porsche of Las Vegas. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair.
Several days later.
All right, JP, as the herd knows, we don't do very much homework here at all. So I had selected a 1985 Audi UR Quattro. I take that back. Who selected the car for us? It was somebody else. It was Andy, who I don't know. Andy selected
Yeah, you know,
this. Thank you, Andy.
FJ Andy.
I know. FJ Andy selected for us the Audi UR Quattro that was on PCAR Market. Now, our car had a fresh paint job, but it was showing just 71,000 miles out of Lebanon, New Jersey, and gorgeous in alpine white. And this condition, it looked, it looks like a brand new car. I got into it. We talked about how rare it is. One of like 400 and just 73 for the model year. This is really the jumping off point for the homologation special for the Audi Quattro rally car that dominated the World Rally Championship. And so, hey, here we are. We're looking at the car. And as I give my bid, and I jumped in deep, I think I went 80 grand or something, was Carbine, I think, that put it out. He's like, this car's got a bad Carfax. This thing's been involved in an accident. And was it an accident, JP, or was it like there was a title issue, right? Didn't have a branded title. And
it was a salvaged. This was a salvaged car, and there was no information as to why it was salvaged
at all. And so that just ruined everything for me. I was super bummed. And JP, this just winds up being another example of how PCAR Market doesn't choose to lead with the truth. They choose to lead with the sizzle. And oh, by the way, and I just, that's such old car guy fodder and tricks. It's about, getting somebody committed and then figuring out as you go. And I have experience working in the car business. You buy and sell stuff all the time, cars and gear and things like that. And it's an easier, simpler transaction when everybody's just upfront with what's going on. And time again, we see PCAR Market fail to do that. And I had drank the Kool-Aid on this one. I thought I just took this one at face value. And could you imagine if I had sent these people money without reading the Carfax? What a disaster this would be. And they're praying for people who are, either easily to believe what they're being told or just want to take advantage of the ether. And I just don't think that's fair. And so, John, you pointed out, and I was still the high bidder on this one. So I changed my bid down to 49,000. JP, you took it down to 29,000. Rami was just above you in studio at 32. Anthony Vieira was in town with his father in studio, choosing to join, all the great crew from Vegas to drive across to LA from Vegas. So he was there, and Buddha was in studio. So let's see. So Rami was at 32, Anthony was at 34, and Buddha was high at 55. So JP, let's see. Do we want to read some of the herd? Is anybody in there yet? Is Randy?
I don't have numbers yet. Yeah,
that's all right. We'll get to it.
Yeah,
we'll just get to it. So a couple things happened on the way to the hammer here. Are we good?
We're fine. Sorry. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry. Thought I had this thing.
All right, here we go.
I looked at my phone.
Yeah.
So
shit.
Okay, so here's the deal, JP. The hammer hit at $35,750 after 36 bids where it failed to sell. The car resides now in the deal tank at $48,500, which is interesting. So at let's see, at $34,000, Anthony was our winner, and at $49,000, I would have won if it would have just went straight to the deal tank. But anyway, JP, what do you think about that result? And what do you think about what it's listed for in the deal tank?
Buddha, what do you think of the result of this thing? I want to go right to you guys know where I'm at with this.
It's right. I actually remember, I guess maybe I was smoking something the other night when I said 55, because I remember being a little down on this car. The recent paint job made it sort of like putting Band-Aid lipstick on a pig. There was that one interior shot we found of the interior where the glove box was half falling down on one side, and just so I think he's going to be lucky to get that. Look, you show up to any car showing that, you're going to get all the attention in the parking lot, regardless of whatever the title says. So
I mean, you don't drive the title, right? And that's one thing about cars like this. I said it in the last episode. A lot of times when we look, these cars weren't worth anything 20, 30 years ago, and that's when the when whatever caused the salvage happened, right? So we don't know if it was a fender bender. You know, a $3,000 fender bender on a $6,000 car is a totaled car. This car was a $6,000 car 20-something years ago. It's certainly not now. But the problem is PCAR Market here. It's not so much the title. It's the fact that they buried it. It's the fact that they are scammers. And right now, I am so pissed off at scammers right now. You guys have no idea. This particular car was a scam. I got scammed this week, guys. I have to I haven't told any of you guys this. I've only told a couple people. I've been kind of saving it for the show. I got scammed on, I think, what day is today? Today's Wednesday. I got scammed on Monday.
Did you buy a 912?
I went to that one worked out. Right.
Yeah.
But I was on Instagram.
Good.
So here it was Monday morning after our great trip, right? We're all just like super happy. Yeah. I'm drinking my coffee. I'm still hungover from Rami's birthday from Saturday night. And I see on the not on the gram, I'm sorry. I see on Craigslist my morning coffee. I got my little puppy sitting next to me. I'm drinking, the first good coffee I've had all weekend because the coffee sucked in LA. And I'm cruising through and I see a 1974 Volkswagen thing, right? I'm like, oh, sweet. I've wanted one of these again. I've owned them, or I've owned one, and I wanted another. I was like, holy shit. And it was out in Gene. Buddha, you know where Gene is, right? Yeah. That's out in the sticks, right? So I'm looking at the photos. I'm going, oh, wow. And it was like $1,000, right? Which, okay, this is BS. But the ad was very clear, right? It was like, doesn't run, it's been sitting for years, don't know, I don't know much about it, blah, blah, blah. So it seemed kind of legit. So I reached out to the guy and he's like, hey, I'm getting 1 million calls. I'm like, well, I'll come out and, I'll come out to Gene. What the hell? It's worth a trip. And he's like, okay, but I think I don't know. Nobody's committed yet. I'm like, look, I'll send you a couple $100 just to hold it for, just so you know I'm legit, right? So he gives me the Venmo thing, and I send him a couple $100, and I'm like, okay, I'll get out there in a couple hours. And I, so we're texting. I'm asking him more questions about it, and he's sending me pictures of the interior. He sends me a picture of the title. I talk to the guy on the phone. He sounds legit. And I'm like, all right, whatever. He's like, hey man, do you want me to just bring it to you? I've got a trailer. I'm like, hell yeah, that sounds awesome. And like, he's like, all right, but my old man doesn't want me to let it go until it's paid for. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So I Venmo him the other $800. Yes, this happened. I sent this guy $1,000. I got totally robbed. Totally robbed, you guys. Man. Totally robbed. And I would do it again and again and again. I said there at one point he was like, man, this is getting crazy. I've got so many people that want to just come and get it right now. Are you sure? I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. You guys know. The nerd knows. Hold on. Yeah. Can I tell the story? You guys know how much of an a-hole I am, right? There's been so many times where I've like blown people off because just the slightest slight, I'm like, oh, screw this guy, blow up the deal, right? And this was one of those times like, oh, don't, because he was like, oh, this is getting ridiculous. And I'm like, okay, he's offering to bring, don't blow up the deal just because it, and I went ahead and did. Okay, go ahead, Deeb. Let me have it. You guys let me have it, Nerd Herd. I got robbed.
I just feel terrible. I empathize because, JP, every fish has a bait, and the biggest bait for JP is a Volkswagen thing for $1,000. Somebody baited the hook with a Volkswagen thing. I'm surprised they only got $1,000 off you.
Well, no, but that's exactly the thing, Deeb, is that if it were a penny more, I wouldn't have done it. That $1,000 threshold is where it's like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
The upside of this thing was high enough that, okay, if there's a 50% chance this thing is a scam or 80% chance this thing is a scam, it's fine. It's $1,000, right? Who cares, right? I mean, obviously I don't want to lose $1,000, but I was like, I'm talking to the guy and he's telling me about how, the last time my dad ran it, he was trying to get it to run. This guy was great, man. He just worked it. He knows Volkswagen people. He played the part perfectly and he just made me believe. And I was like, oh, whatever. If he had, and the other thing too is I offered up the $200 deposit to hold it because I've missed out on deals, right? Where something's really a really good deal and you know his phone is blowing up. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get in front of this so this guy knows I'm not just another chump that's going to blow him off. Because we've all sold stuff on Craigslist. It's a pain in the ass, especially when it's a good deal. Everyone in the world is, calling you and you're like, forget it. So, yeah. So ultimately, Yeah, go ahead.
Are we taking bets in the comments to see who in the herd we think is the one that took JP's $1,000? I'll start the bidding. I'm gonna start the betting. My bid is that it was Gerd, because Gerd's pissed he had to run Cars and Cafe while you were gone, and so he grabbed $1,000 off of you for his efforts. So I'm guessing
I would have happily paid Gerd. He provided a value, right?
I think Gerd did it. So that's, if we're playing Clue, Gerd did it with the thing in Gene.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm more pissed about the $1,000 or waiting around an hour for the guy to show up. I'm just like, come on, man. So, I called Sahan and I'm like, hey, call this number and see if he's still got it. And he's like, yeah, he's fucking you. Sorry, I just dropped an F-bomb. He's like, it's still for sale. And I'm sitting here. Well, here's the craziest thing, right? I'm waiting for the guy to show up, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm here. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. The tires were flat on the trailer. It's going to take me another hour. It's like, a-hole, you have my money. I'm scammed. Why didn't you just ghost me then? I would have figured it out, an hour sooner. And I could have been like, yeah, whatever. But I had to wait an hour to figure it out because why did he reply? There's nothing more. Man, I'm just so I don't know. I called him back. I was like laughing. I'm like, you got me, dude. Good job. Your life is your punishment. I hope you spend the $1,000 to fix your double wide or whatever the hell.
To fix
have fun looking over your shoulder, bro. What's that, Buddha?
To fix his thing.
To fix his thing. So when it comes to PCAR Market and this kind of ish, this car actually exists. It was actually something for sale that someone could buy, but it's on the same, spectrum. There's this guy with the Volkswagen thing who's a full-on thief, and then there's people who are straight up on the other side of the spectrum. And somewhere more towards the thing scammer is PCAR Market than up and up. And that's why over and over and over again, PCAR Market, if you are considering purchasing something on that platform, do your homework. Don't just go, it's going to be fine. Be careful because you don't know what they buried. It took my partner, Michael Deeb, who was an expert. He didn't even notice. The only reason I noticed is because he goes first, right? And I had time to look at the listing while he's doing it. I'm like, oh, great. It's buried at the bottom. And I sent the guy $1,000. So anyways, I'm broke. How you guys doing? How dumb was I to send this scammer $1,000? I apologize. I'm stupid. I don't think you guys should ever take my advice again because I fell for it. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, and for not just me getting scammed on the Volkswagen, but the results of this really cool car that is unfortunately not worth anything because of that title and because of the way it was buried. I think if this car could have brought real money and is worth something if it were listed on a platform that was more up and up and more transparent and that was put out right in front, everyone would have been, okay, fine, we understand the value proposition. Let's go. I think the seller would have probably been able to sell it and been probably happy. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below.
Several days later.
Here's the thing. People have been asking about updates on having been scammed on the last week on that Volkswagen thing, right? Just as a recap, I found $1,000 Volkswagen thing on Craigslist, and when I called the number, the guy had a copy of the title and pictures and everything, and he sounded like he knew he did know Volkswagens. Let's face it, he knew Volkswagens. He knew that I knew Volkswagens, and he knew how to talk to someone who was into classic cars. I'm like, look, I know I don't expect it to run for $1,000. He's like, yeah, it's all there, but it's going to need a bunch of work. So I'm like, fine. It was kind of far out of town. I offered him a couple $100 to hold it for me because, of course, other people would be calling on it, and he really got the best of me by after having sent that couple $100 deposit. Then an hour or so later, he offers up, hey, I will put it on a trailer and I'll just bring it to you. But you know, my dad doesn't want to give it up until you just pay the other $800. And he's just, you know, just to make him happy. So I'm like, all right, fine, right? This $1,000 threshold, I blew it off. And of course, ultimately it was a total scam, guys. I got completely ripped off by someone on Craigslist. And it's all because of a black M3. Everyone's going, how could you fall for that? How could you be so stupid? Well, I'll tell you, at least I want to say, what year is it right now? It's 2024. So probably, gosh, 2005 or 10 or something like that, somewhere in that neighborhood. I was bombing around on Craigslist and I found a car just like this one. It wasn't the Evo. It was a black on black E30 M3 listed, and it was like $5,000. Even back then, that was a $25,000 car, right? So I remember seeing that car going, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I get a hold of the guy, and you know, he's obviously getting all kinds of calls. He says, oh, hey, look, if you want this thing, I'm going to need a couple of grand as a deposit. Otherwise, I just got to move on to the next guy. I think I'm asking too little for it. And I was like, no, I can't do that until I see it. And I passed, right? And I was like, man, I think this is a scam or something like that. Turns out the car was totally legit. It wound up at the local Volkswagen BMW dealership down the street. From me, one of the salespeople that I knew, the guy that was selling it brought the car there, and it was totally legit. If I had given the guy the $2,000, I could have gotten the car, right? So every now and then you're like, oh, I missed one that got away. It's like the upside. If I had thrown that $2,000, the upside of that would have been like 10, 15x, right? So, so when I threw the $1,000 on this stupid thing, it's like sometimes you're just like, but here's the update, guys. Okay, no, I haven't got my money back. I don't know how the hell I would possibly get my money back. But the crazy thing is there was like a couple days later, we saw another ad pop up on Craigslist for a Volkswagen bus. And I just trying to pull a picture up of it here, guys, but sorry. I guess it's not going to happen. I was going to show you a picture of it. The same guy, same kind of scammy type of...
Out of Arizona.
What's that? He was... adjacent to northern Arizona, or we like to call it NOAS, right? In Lake Havasu, Bullhead City, kind of area, Laughlin. But same exact BS. So I'm sending the phone number to everybody, trying to get everybody to call him and give him a hard time and maybe see if we could find him. But no luck, whatever. But just be careful out there, guys. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Hey guys, thanks for watching this clip of the Bid Nerds podcast. Play along with us live every Sunday and Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. on YouTube, and see if your bids stack up to the rest of the nerd herd in the chat live. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Nerd! Get those nerds!